Our first semifinal is over and Kilson advances. Our next semifinal is on deck, and that will be between Maxter and Wenger. And then the winner will go on to play Kilson in the upper finals. Welcoming back to the desk, ZSX and Flea. Gentlemen, I know that you got a chance to watch that last semifinal. I'm guessing you think that we'll have as explosive of a match.
I think even more so. That one was close to being a blowout somehow, given the skill level, even though it was all really, really close.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we did go to a 3-1 in the end, but I think this one actually has the ingredients for something really special. We've got a former champion who's been looking probably the best form I've seen him in against Maxter, who's already taken out the former champion, the 3-time, and is looking really good himself.
Yeah, both of these players are in absolutely tip-top shape. Maxter, like you just mentioned, kind of coming here in a very good seed, yes, but I don't think anyone was expecting him to make it this far. Top 6, best 6 players in the world are left in this tournament, and he can go far.
Well, as mentioned before, we sat down with the players before the tournament, and then once they made it to the top 6, we sat down with them again to find out what they thought about their chances making it to the top 6 and so much more. Let's talk to Maxter first.
First of all, being on day 3, being on top 6 is amazing. Of course, my proudest victory is just happened against Rafa because the environment, I mean, playing on land. But the thing is that I built a lot of confidence just playing against Chrome, which unfortunately was a match online due to the circumstances that he's living on right now. And I feel like really calm when I just joined my match against Rafa. Of course, the intensity of the match, it basically drove me a bit nervous, but beyond that, I feel like I did really good and I'm really proud of the result I had. Well, for the upcoming rounds, I'm looking to just play Wenger. I mean, we already played twice in the past. I took both instances, but he's looking so strong right now. So I think it's going to be really intense. I will not take the foot from the pedal at all. I will go full speed most of the time. I will make a ton of pressure, and I know he will not hold himself. Like, he's really talented, and I'm looking for it. Actually, I am not thinking about avoiding anyone at this point. Since I really want the belt, I am down to defeat anyone. Whoever is in front of me, I will do my best, and that's what I need. I just focus on my game. Well, I already achieved my first goal, that was making it to the day 3, which is the best result I ever had on a LAN tournament. But my mindset for the tournament itself was I will do good nonetheless. Like, I know how good I'm doing. I know how much work I put into it. So it doesn't matter how I play, I will do good nonetheless. If I will win the belt, of course I will.
You know, the number of players in the history of esports that have done so well and potentially even won a championship at their first or debut LAN is so short. It is not a long list, but I think Maxter already firmly kind of penciling his name, just waiting for it to be chiseled in stone there. That would be a pretty huge accomplishment.
It would be incredible given how much we've talked about just the quality of all of the players here today. And like we said at the very start of the event, he was somebody everyone looked at and said he could probably get top 6 and wouldn't be surprised if he gets top 6, but it's just the way in which he's got to this point. It definitely will have struck some fear into the heart of Wenger, having seen the 2-0 against Rafa. That's no small feat. It's his best achievement ever. And I definitely wouldn't take him away if he took Wenger down as well. I don't think it'll be a clean sweep either way. But don't bet against Maxter, that's for sure.
I also just really love his mindset and his attitude going into this. I had the chance to sit down with him at breakfast at the hotel, and he was really like, I don't care who I play. He's so calm, so confident, just complete zen, saying, I made it this far. I know I can beat everyone else who's left if I just find that magical spark. And he has just, surrendered to the circumstances. He says, I'm here, I'm ready to play, and I'm going to do it.
You know, I see where we rank with Flea, Dan, because we were there too. But notice
Yeah,
that
it's
Flea
fine,
didn't say we. But that's no, I'm just playing. No, it was actually really great to hear Maxter talk a little bit about his own mindset. And I'll tell you what, he's got a tough opponent. We sat down with Wenger, find out how he was feeling going into the top 6 and what he expects out of today.
Yeah, I expected to get this far because I've been practicing a lot and I knew that coming into the tournament with the right amount of practice and confidence, I will get this far for sure. My toughest matches probably would have been Zenaku, because especially on map 1 it was really close. On map 2 it was not really that close, but still it's a really good player and really hard to play against him sometimes. My most proud win, I think it's always against Zenaku, because on Insomnia I think I played close to perfection, just by playing good with the champion I had. So, I'm looking forward to play Maxter, because I have lost to him actually in the Pro League, so I'm trying to get my revenge, and hopefully it's going to be a good match for the viewers. No, I don't really want to avoid anyone. I think if you want to win, you have to beat everybody, and it doesn't matter who you're going to play, you have to play your best anyway. So I don't really have someone I just don't want to play. My mindset is just staying calm, trying to practice as much as I can and be confident because I know what are my capabilities. Yeah, go ahead and try to win. Of course I'm going to take home the belt.
You know, you think about how important mentality is, right? Of course, your skills in game so important, but mentality from Wenger also equally impressive. In fact, these two just give off so many good vibes. You know, Wenger is a player who acknowledges that, right? Most of the time, it's not the game, it's me, right? And you've really got to understand when you're making mistakes, where you can improve, how you can improve, and that's an area that Wenger's put a lot of focus and effort into over the course of the past season or two.
Absolutely. It was a point I was actually going to make when we were at breakfast
Yeah,
this
when
morning.
you and I were at breakfast.
When we were talking to Wenger.
Okay.
There were other players who were just moaning about, various things in the setting, but Wenger said, look at yourself first. Look at yourself. You're the one that controls. You're the one that makes mistakes. Don't look to blame it on other things. That was such a mature response.
Yeah.
And I think it plays out in not only the tournament setting, but even his practice regimen, right? Every part of his life has been dedicated in the last few months towards this particular tournament. Food, sleep, gym, training regimen, making sure he has variety. He just approaches the game in a very professional, mature way, and it's showing it now. And he even said in the intro there, he played close to perfection against Zenaku in Insomnia. He did the same thing against Buckster. I think there were 2 maps there. It was a 2-0 where I could barely even pick a floor out. And I can hardly even say I've seen Rafa make that level of dominance. So it's really scary that shape he's in.
I mean, it also just shows the personal growth that he's gone through, right? Wenger's career's had a lot of ups, a lot of downs. I still remember him getting closer and closer and closer to winning something. Top 5, top 4, top 3, just getting inching closer and closer. And then he wins the belt. He's currently the reigning champion. But then shortly afterwards, we've got the Maestro Iron Fist LAN, where he had a really disappointing result by his own admission. Lost both of his 2 opening games. So now he's back. You can tell he's more focused than ever. He's really just learned from those experiences, taken the negative with the good, and he's all the better for it.
Yeah, and of course, like we mentioned, bringing that positive attitude, even as he said, yeah, I'd like to get my revenge on Maxter. He said it with a smile on his face, obviously in a joking fashion, but it's now time to look at the picks and bans. So how is this going to play out between these 2 players, and what do we have on deck? Wenger, he's going to be picking Deep Embrace. Maxter's picking Awoken. And then Wenger with Insomnia. Ruins after that. And finally, Blood Covenant. And as we look at the champs, we see something pretty similar. And this might be that evolving meta that we've talked about over the course of a tournament. Lights, mediums, and then, let's throw some heavies in the mix. The pepper on top.
Yeah, really good draft. The only one I'm going to pick up before I guess Flea can run through it is just that map 4 if we get that far, which I hope we do. The slash against the visor. Obviously at that stage of the draft when the players, I don't know, have an unsaid rule where they're not going to pick heavies, and we do have a slash versus the visor, which puts Maxter very much on the back foot in terms of mobility and speed, and so he has to be careful there because we know Wenger will put the pressure on. I think apart from that, and Flea can run through it now, it's a fairly good and standard draft across the board.
I mean, the first thing that really stands out is if we get to that point, we've got a clutch-sided Wenger might be running the big robot on Blood Covenant. Had a talk to him, just me this time. You guys weren't anywhere near that, but just myself had a talk with Wenger, and he was like, it's not going to get. it's not going to get to map 5, right? He didn't elaborate, but that just showed, again, his confidence. And even if it does, he said, I think that Clutch is going to crush Zorlak in this match. But before we get there, map 1, Deep Embrace, Strog versus Ranger, 2 mediums. Map 2, Awoken, Anarchy versus Doom. 2 very meta picks, especially in the light of this tournament. Insomnia, we're seeing things slow down a bit. No hyper-fast champions. Probably would have happened if Insomnia was a little earlier in the lineup, but now we're getting Death Knight, and we've seen just how powerful he has been versus the BJ with that dual wield. And then, as Dan already mentioned, Ruins of Zarnet, Visor versus Slash. Another common matchup. I mean, we've seen Visor versus Nyx quite often. I even quizzed Rafa about that in the interview yesterday, because Visor's seeing a lot of picks. So interesting matchup once again.
Fleet, I'm curious, when you had that conversation, I'm being totally serious too. Were the picks and bans done then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was just
interesting.
earlier.
Interesting. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are creating the match. It is moments from this semifinal. Coming up after this matchup, we're going to be seeing Rafa appear on stage as well as we progress through day 3 of the Quake World Championship. I like this. Let's talk a little bit quickly about predictions, right? I think we're at that point where, you know, honestly, it doesn't matter the words that come out of our mouths, because I think, right, players playing where they're at, this is the final day. Their lives are not quite on the line yet, but a very, very important matchup. Anyone want to throw out a prediction?
3-2 Wenger.
Gonna agree. 3-2 Wenger. It's gonna be really close. I'm fully expecting to see at least 1 overtime like we did earlier. We saw 2 even. So I think this is gonna be an extremely close series. But generally speaking, I do think that Wenger has a slight advantage going into this.
Well, I mean, he gave you the intel, said it wasn't going to go to the map
True.
5. So I'll say 3-1 Wenger. There we go. I'm going to go off of Flea's intel. Thanks, Flee.
No
You're welcome,
Maxter,
man.
no Maxter fanboys on the panel
I
today.
mean, honestly, I think the wonderful thing is that Maxter doesn't care what we predict either, right? Like if he's here, if he shows up today, if he plays like he did, I do think we'll go 5 games, but I'm just...
I mean, something else that was interesting that Maxter said is the pressure is on everyone else.
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
I mean, if you look at those, we've got Kilson, he's won twice. Rafa, he's won 3 times. Wenger has gotten the belt himself once, too. So all of these guys, they have so much to prove, right?
Yep.
Razy has gotten twice, like second place, 5 times in the Quake Pro League. I'm just strolling around, right? The pressure isn't on me.
Yeah.
I'm relaxed, I'm calm. So let's see if that
Great
helps him.
approach, too. All right, we're loading into Deep Embrace. Gentlemen, enjoy yourselves. Take us into this second semifinal, best of 5.
Yeah, thanks, DJ Wheat. And yeah, just to your point, Flea, he was awfully calm coming when we were in here today, walking up just to cast.
True.
And I probably would have sided with him if he didn't insult my shirt. So anyway, we were cracking on. Starting over on Deep Embrace, we have Maxter on the Strog, Wenger on the Ranger. And what I wanted to say that we didn't get to talk about in terms of the picks and bans is I feel that they both got picks they wanted. Looking at the side of Wenger, he definitely has cited all of the champions he's picked as his favorite or thereabouts on the maps, and equally Maxter, very comfortable. So I think this is a perfectly primed semi-final at the moment.
Expertly pushed by Maxter right here. He knows very well that Wenger doesn't have the LG yet, so he can dominate that mid-range. Hasn't picked up Railgun himself, so that longer distance is a little iffy, exactly as we saw right there. But he was hoping to stay at that mid-distance and abuse that LG advantage.
Yeah, and one of the features of Wenger's play, particularly this event, has been that rail. And what really impresses me is that he's just so quick with it. He peeks over the edge, quick flick rail, often hits, and that's so scary as an opponent, not because he hits so hard, but also because you just can't see him or hit him back. And that's such a valuable skill, and already we're seeing that 1 minute into this game as well. Maxter unable to even touch the rail, which he desperately needs. So Wenger's done a good job of controlling that high ground and pressuring his opponent, and now he's able to work his way around, which should be a free Mega. Looks like Maxter's already set up over on the heavy and can take that away, but Wenger might be in the vicinity to do a little bit of splash damage. He's going to steal it away himself. Maxter, realizing that his opponent was on the charge, wisely backs off, but now he's in a little bit of trouble down on that low ground, Flea.
That's the power of the orb, Dan. Maxter had already used his peeker earlier, so he didn't have any active ability to work with, where if Wenger still had that, and he knew very well that if Maxter was just waiting on the item itself, that splash damage would be huge. So very, very clever, very aggressive on the push.
But he needed the orb to take it, and without it, he might not be able to take the next round. Oh, Maxter just moves out the way using that peeker. Wenger though doesn't have the orb, so can't get across to steal this second rotation, and that gives Maxter a little bit of breathing room to restack, but he's been on the ropes and unable to cope with the tempo that his opponent is setting at the moment.
Another good rail from Wenger. Oh, the double back though. Maxter so sneaky. Wenger not ready for that. Down to 10 points of health. Maxter, can he capitalize? He's gonna attempt to push, making his way around the super shoddy side of the map. Already setting up for Mega, and Wenger still down to 10 points of health. Threading the needle, does get out and will be able to secure the heavy.
Yeah, but he also now has this little bit of breathing space. As the items aren't really split, they can both fall back onto it, and the respect is there that neither one is making a conscious effort to delay and push on to the opponent's item at the moment. It's only 1-0 despite all of the fighting we have had. And this was Wenger's pick as well. And if it wasn't Wenger's pick, Maxter certainly would have picked it. So they're both hugely comfortable and deep embrace. And Val, he's been caught, but he doesn't fall off the map. However, he is in a very sticky situation and will be going down. Maxter tying it is up for the first frag of this semi-final. Soon to be second if he has his way. Pressuring his opponent, unable to get the frag as the Mega was taken mid-fight. And Wenger gets away, but has no orb, has no rail, and has no rocket to his name.
He absolutely had to burn the orb right there to stay alive. He was stuck behind the pillar, no weapons to his name, but ultimately managed to get away with the Mega. Took a fair bit of damage, but ultimately denying that item is just as important as picking it up yourself. And now it's an all-out brawl, LG on LG. Both players are eyeing those health bubbles.
Nice,
Really
perfect.
nice. Indeed. He knew that there was nothing that Wenger could do, didn't have the orb, was unable to close that gap any sort of quickly. And that allowed him to get that final blast off with the peeker.
Wenger still has this heavy to fall back on, but again, just off the back of that frag, doesn't have any weaponry, and Maxter's picking his opponent apart. The orb comes in, trying to force some sort of fight, at least force the high ground. He does for now, but again, he doesn't really have a lot of weapons to work with, please, so he's struggling here. He's just about to get this rail, which is a bit of a lifeline, but now there is a larger split emerging between the items. Maxter's in the vicinity as well, trying to punish his opponent. Might give him the heavy now for free just because he was able to delay that Mega.
Gotta keep in mind, Maxter also has the highest base speed of these two champions. Yes, Wenger has the orb, and that allows him to quickly swap between these two items. But if he doesn't have it available, Maxter will outspeed him. And there we go, Wenger holding his ground. Both of these players are really starting to warm up their aim right now, right? Yeah. During the opening 2 minutes, then they were both at just 20% rail, which is uncharacteristically low for these players. But now the jitters, right? The nerves, they've started playing through them, and they're now really getting into the swing of things.
It's not even just that. It's also the fact that we're playing this game of chess. That was the first engagement we've seen where they're both on the same level of the map. Until now, they've both been trying to outposition each other, angle each other out, play this distance game. And Maxter's been winning that, but as soon as they get that mano-a-mano, that's where Wenger's strength comes to the fore. So Max is going to continue to just want to play this probing game from afar. Don't get drawn into any close-range shenanigans. That's the game Max is toying for.
Maxter's rails definitely leveled up a fair bit, sitting pretty at 61%. Wenger still trailing behind at 29%. But as you mentioned, Dan, Wenger, he loves to spam that railgun. He goes for these quick flicks, hoping to land something, so his accuracy is going to be lower. But still, his damage dealt is actually pretty close to what Maxter's been doing with that weapon.
And you can see the game plan from Wenger as well. That's about third or fourth time. He's trying to close the gap, desperately using the orb. Does obviously mean he doesn't have that for the next engagement or to close down on the items. So we do see items pretty even across the board as they continue to trade either side of the map. For the most part, Wenger's been sitting on this heavy side, Maxter taking and using the Mega. But it's all been about that rail and picking and choosing when Wenger's used that orb to close the gap. And that's why we're sitting at 3-3. Low-scoring game on Deep Embrace 6 minutes in. Might be a 4-3 someone soon, as we do have another engagement over the heavy. Maxter pushing in aggressively with that lightning gun, and the rockets haven't been great from Wenger, but he is pushing back with the rail. Wenger's railable, Maxter's also railable. He's early for the timing, but what a maneuver.
Okay, I was not expecting that rocket to connect with as much damage as it did, but that is going to put the Italian one frag in the lead.
Okay.
Maxter on the hunt. Like a shark, sensing the blood in the water, he knew exactly how weak Wenger was, had a good read on his position as well, and immediately ties things right back up. Now, major items are still pretty closely aligned then, so no real opportunity for either one of these players to string both of them together, so I don't think we'll see full control yet.
No, definitely not. But it does feel that the momentum is more in Maxter's corner. He seems to be playing the cleaner game. A lot of these frags, a lot of these pushes from Wenger reek of semi-desperation, trying to force the issue, partly because he's losing out on these ranged engagements, as you pointed out with the rail. There's another great angle from Maxter, a double following it up, and Wenger is on the ropes once again.
Maxter expecting him to double back. Wenger doesn't do so, but he's now got in a bad position.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot of damage. Down to 20 points of health. Maxter should be able to clean this one up. Indeed, the LG does the trick.
Use the orb though, that's huge because now he has no get out clause and Maxter can play the map. He might even to get both items. Wenger coming in, know he's done a lot of damage, but is that the right decision with a starting machine gun? Yes, somehow it is, but he's low again. Maxter will get the mega, Maxter will get the aggression on. Can Wenger prevent this with a rail? That's gonna be a huge miss though.
Maxter did deny the heavy, picked it up just before he went down, so that has severely hindered Wenger's opportunity to build some momentum with that frag.
Another great exchange from Maxter. It doesn't matter if it was a trade. He's in the position for this heavy, and there's not a lot for Wenger to work with. He needs to hit an unreturned damage to feel happy with this position. He does have the orb, and we've seen what he wants to do. He wants to hit that rail, close it in, and finish off the job. But it has created some messy engagements. Maxter knows he's got no armor, so he'll be pressing this light armor. You can see him hovering above it. There comes the Pika. He's not scattered anything out, and you will have heard that. Oh no, he gets caught as well. The rocket jump's not good. The rail exchange is equally not good. There's one back, but Maxter's still healthy Flea, and he knows his opponent's got nothing. Orb goes out, distraction orb, but that he's going to try and steal away this heavy, but his opponent's below, trying to press him out. He might get away with the heavy, but not with his life.
Almost had enough health to get away with that one.
Oh no, there's another frag with a minute and a half to go. This isn't looking good for Wenger. Another rail from Maxter, huge every single time off the spawn. He somehow finds his opponent. Another one from Maxter. Will there be a third? Yes, there will!
Juicy. Misses the rail of the spawn.
But it doesn't matter, he's got the landing gun. Wenger's desperation with these rockets. He's trying to push and he's trying to do something. He knows he's running out of time, but the aggression isn't paying off for him just now as Maxter's standing strong and standing true. He can just rocket jump up to take this heavy. He might even be able to close this map out. If Wenger gets the frag now, there is a slim chance for him to stay in this one, but he is just so weak. The Pika through the death hole isn't to be, but look at that health from the rocket.
1 HP.
Literally
one.
Literally one. But it's one that keeps him in the game for now. There's still an opportunity for a frag here, a conversion, and we could have ourselves an overtime within sight, but he just can't connect. Maxter scooting himself away. That base speed coming in out of the TP though, with 30 seconds to go. Wenger needs to find Maxter and needs to find him now. The heavy's up, the rocket jumps there. There's no orb. It has to be old school style to catch his opponent. Playing Clan Arena around this deep embrace map. Has all the weapons he needs, but he doesn't have the speed. Now it looks like he doesn't have the time either, as he's not connecting. You can see the shake of the head, resigning himself to a loss in map 1, and a really well play by both of these players, but particularly from Maxter. It's very rarely you see Wenger struggling and being on the back foot for large periods of games.
Absolutely, and a key factor in that, Dan, was just the railgun.
Yeah.
That is really the weapon of choice that allowed Maxter to dominate in the way he did.
Yes.
We're going to see the percentages in just a moment. 65% railgun, over 2,000 damage with rail alone for Maxter versus just 31 on Wenger's side, and that really spelled out the difference.
He did nearly fire double the amount as he did. He does spam the rail, which is an unorthodox tactic at that, but as you rightly pointed out, you still can't be hitting that little against Maxter because it was consistently in these trades where Wenger was losing out. There was often trading into items, but when it came to these one-on-one rail fights, Maxter had the angle, often had the positioning, and was connecting in effectively a 2-to-1 ratio.
Yes.
And at that point, Wenger was constantly edging out and trying to find new and innovative ways to engage his opponent, which was often launching the orb in and praying that he could finish off his opponent with the rocket or the shotgun. It worked for large periods of the game, but Maxter managed to break through with 3 minutes to go. And from there on out, it was really an uphill battle for Wenger to get that scoreline returned to parity.
And then in that final minute or so, we get into the situation that we so frequently talk about. You're a ranger. If you don't have the orb, how are you going to catch a player on Strock, right? That crouch sliding is so fast. You saw it towards the end. Wenger had a very good idea of where Maxter was, right? He saw him flying around the map in front of him, tries to chase him down, but by the time that he reaches the corner, Maxter's already, you know, back on the other side of the map. And so difficult to land rails on a fast-moving target like him. And ultimately, Maxter able to steer away with that scoreline, 9-6.
9-6 indeed. It was close throughout until the end. Wenger will be a little bit frustrated, but not too frustrated. It was his pick, remember, but like we said, Maxter would have picked it nonetheless. So it was a good map for both these players. The Ranger is definitely the pick of choice for Wenger, but Strog is just so OP sometimes, particularly when you put it in the hands of Maxter himself. But moving on. We're moving on to Awoken. We have an Anarchy over on Maxter, which was the first pick, and the retaliation of Doom. We know Doom is, pretty stable, pretty strong. What is your take on this particular matchup in the Anarchy versus the Doom, though?
I mean, Doomslayer is so powerful around the center area of Awoken, right? If you can get in control of the flow of the game and you can just set up there, you can dictate just the entire pace of everyone, right? You can control both the items as well as your opponent. Easily jump onto A2 Mega, get right back up, continue to apply pressure to your opponent. But on the other hand, Anarchy, once that gets in the lead, the injection, the speed, so powerful, especially if he can prioritize the heavy, he doesn't even need to go over on the Mega side.
Yeah, and I just feel that Doom has lost a little bit of effectiveness in these high-caliber games as people have learned all the tricks of the trade, like the nail jump, how other pathing areas, different defensive positioning. That control is still vital, as we're already loading in. No one wants to pause, but it's becoming less effective as we've got more experience here. So, Anarchy is a top tier pick, and I'm actually favoring Anarchy in this engagement.
Same. Now it is Maxter on the Anarchy. Wenger running the Doomslayer, so let's see how this is going to go down. Once again, Railgun is likely going to be vital, right? These pros have been talking the entire tournament of how good the Rail has felt on LAN. So if a player like Wenger is only hitting around 30%, then that just shows that Maxter is in top shape and that something needs to change about the Maestro Man's game plan.
Definitely, but this is also a map where you can force more Lightning Gun as well, and it was actually a feature of the previous map that Maxter did nearly 3 times as much damage, I think it was, maybe 2.5 with the Lightning Gun. So just that efficiency with the mid-range weapon was also a key feature that we didn't get to talk about, but you're right, the Rail is always going to be incredibly pivotal in this particular matchup. And then we're looking at Wenger. He was the one not connecting, and he's also going up against an Anarchy. So those rails become even more important to keep that light champion in check. If you connect with the rail, he becomes vulnerable. The hard part is finding and hitting an Anarchy. That's a different challenge altogether.
Maxter
using
lost
that opportunity.
control already.
Yeah, but he's using the opportunity just to take that mid-ground, like you rightly said. As long as he stays up here, it's not the end of the world, particularly on the light champion. As long as you've got your starting stack, you're feeling okay because you have the speed and mobility to get out of dodge and an inject in this case as well. So it's not a huge issue until you start to lose out on any sort of rail duel or efficiency damage from range. And Maxter's not 2 in a row, none for Wenger. There's the first one he hit. Instantly, the inject comes out. Maxter not feeling too confident to press for this heavy. He just hears his opponent go down and he's got himself in timing. But look at that split and the items already flee. Something we didn't see on Deep Embrace.
Really good read by Maxter there as well, just to pump the brakes a little when going up the staircase. Because that rocket, if he had just kept maneuvering at his normal speed, that would have nailed him for 100 damage.
Feature of Maxter's game in this tournament, particularly against Rafa, was just his ability to live without items. Particularly when we watched him play on Veil, his capability to understand the angles, just to use his awareness of his opponent's playstyle against him in some occasions, has been such a feature of strength. And it seems that he has the inkling to want to do it here. Just playing around Wenger, playing at the items, not connecting with enough damage just yet, but you can see the thought process.
Wenger, 11% rail. You mentioned it yourself, Dan. Yes, he likes to spam. Yes, he likes to quick draw and fire as soon as he even senses the presence of his opponent. But still, is this worrying? I think so.
It definitely is. Even in those situations, you expect someone like Wenger to be hitting 40, 50 plus. And it's not to be at the moment. Maxter also not hitting a huge amount, but in the moments of clutch, that's where he's coming true. Wenger, you can see pausing there just before entering the room. He knows what's up. Maxter chilling on the high ground. And Wenger comes barreling in through. Inject comes out again. Huge rocket from Maxter, but look at the stack. And that's the problem. If you don't hit all of your rails or a large number of them, you can be in trouble. And that was Maxter in serious trouble. He's also in a little bit more trouble here. Chip damage coming out. No inject. Heavy's not up for a good 5 seconds. Maxter gets out for now, but he's on the back foot in the opening engagements of Awoken.
Indeed he is. Wenger 1-0 up. Making good use of that nail gun, as you mentioned earlier, Dan. Get some more mobility around the maps, the little trick jumps. Oh, that's going to open things up, but he takes a big rocket himself.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, good thing that Maxter didn't have rail yet. And Wenger was very well aware of that. Otherwise, I don't think he would have peeked as brazenly as he did. There we go, hits one. Can he find the second? This is the kill shot. Maxter dances out of the room. Still not safe just yet. I think he can tank another rail by now, but is he going to make a move for heavy?
No, and it's in these situations where you might like to see a little bit of a change just to improve efficiency. Switch to the heavy machine gun, do a bit more spam with the tribal, you know, just mix it up a little bit if you're not connecting with the rails that you might usually do. But at the moment, Wenger being stubborn with that rail. However, saying that, he has hit a couple more, so it's building in momentum for now. Still 2-0. Both items up now more or less the same time and not up for a while either. I don't even know if Max has touched a major item pretty much since the start of the game. He's trying to play around this mid area, but at the same time, huge respect from Wenger, not giving him an inch, standing there once again, connecting with the rail, and Maxter is once again retreating to this light armor room.
Wenger is finally starting to land some consistent shots with the rail. That's exactly what he needed. Maxter does not have the stack to take this fight, has to back up. Oh, that's a big rocket though. Wenger getting pelleted in the back, has to get out of there. Luckily for him, there are some resources available on the LG side of the map, but this could signal in a flip in control.
Definitely stole away the Mega, realized this was the opportunity to put on a bit more aggression. He's going up, they're going to meet in the T-junction once again, but no, Wenger and Maxter both back out. Heavy's the next item up. Wenger knows the timing of the Mega as well, so will stay in the vicinity. Maxter might look just for a rail from afar. He fakes the jump pad up. He knows his opponent's still up there. He's going to connect with this rail, surely. Yes, he does. Wenger doesn't know where his opponent is. A second doesn't. Wenger pushes through with the lightning gun, but has to retreat as he's quite low, and Wenger is now himself on the run as Max is the one with the pressure and with the speed. And now with the inject, he might even go for a super aggressive push up through mid.
Oh, nice. Wow. 81 out of absolutely nowhere. Wenger was not expecting to take that much damage, and Maxter definitely was not expecting to do that much either. Now Mega is the next major item to spawn. Wenger holding that down. And he's going to hear his opponent. Maxter won't know where Wenger is at, but Wenger most definitely has a good read on him. That hoverboard, Dan, it's loud.
It is. He tried to fake the double back to force Wenger to move, but not to be. Wenger's just camping in this area, saying, if you want to fight, I'm happy to fight in a choke point, but otherwise, no thank you, sir. We're back to trading items. Max is trying to double back and trap him in this vicinity. Wenger might even have to rocket jump out, but instead just stands his ground Spartan style with that LG. And this is not the place he wants to be. This is the place he's been losing out in map 1 and 2, just the one-on-one long-range rails. And so he's back to camping the T-junction.
I mean, that really has been his comfort zone. That's where he got his first frag, right? Just pushing in brazenly with the rockets, double jumping over Maxter's return fire and getting the frag like that. So he really is just saying, I'm going to take the fight here, just as I predicted, right? That is where Doom shines on this map. Everywhere else, Anarchy is probably in the advantage.
It's really hard for an Anarchy to push on through there without both items to his name, because Wenger's consistently got that Mega at the moment to fall back on. There's not a lot Maxter can do because his opponent is incredibly healthy. He's trying to pick an angle, but look at Wenger. You know where he is? There he is, right behind the doorway. Although he's a little bit caught here. A lot of damage coming out from Maxter. He still has the inject, so he's probably looking to push in here, realizing he's running out of time, and this is one of the few windows of opportunity he's seeing, but Wenger just continues the backpedaling. If Wenger, I just can't connect with those critical rails, this map Flea. They would have hit on Deep Embrace, they're not quite now. Wenger comes flying on through the window, but it didn't connect again, and Maxter saying enough is enough. I'm going to take this Mega away, and but that's also not to be, and he might even be giving up a frag. No! Wenger gets knocked down at the last second.
Oh, nice rail. Wenger railable, both players are. Neither one will connect though. Oh, that was a sick shot. Dan nearly knocked over the entire caster desk reacting to that, but that was sick indeed. The LG is looking strong. Wenger still escaping. Maxter.
Oh, what? No!
Okay. If that had been a frag for Wenger, I don't know what I would have done.
No, he's got the spawn as well. Wenger sticking around with the starting machine gun, but no weapons to work with. Maxter wisely retreats to this heavy, and off the back of a 1 HP clutch rail survival, he's turned this map around. Wenger still in the lead with 2 minutes to go, but he's out of control, and look at the split in the item timings.
Yeah.
Maxter can just afford to isolate and control this area, take the Mega, and then go on the offensive. He knows his opponent doesn't have a rail, and that's going to be the critical weapon. At the same time, we know what Wenger's going to do. He's going to be sitting around that T-junction, and it's all about how can Maxter force his way into that space without taking too much damage. There's the entry. He hasn't been hit too hard. The rail comes out, and Wenger's on the rope. There's still an inject. He can just go flying on in, rocket jump through. He's lost his opponent, and the suicide ties us up.
Such an aggressive push by Maxter. Out comes the inject together with that rocket jump, propelling himself into Wenger, and then of course, one way or another, Wenger is doomed. This time it was the suicide ending it. This is looking really good for Maxter now. Mega right behind him, as you mentioned earlier yourself, Dan. Very nice split between the items, so if Maxter can continue this cycle, and Wenger is going to struggle. Here we go.
This is where Doom becomes so vulnerable. What are you meant to do in these situations, Flea? Without items, without the weapons, you just have no mobility to get out of dodge, and he has to force the way in. But there's nothing he can do. He's trying to take this fight. It's almost a fight of desperation with a minute to go. 40 seconds at that. This next Mega is absolutely massive. Wenger has to show his face, and he has to do something. And I don't even know if Max is going to make a committal. He's just going to try and burn as much of it as possible. He comes in, the inject's still there. He's just fighting it out. GG. And Max is going to take map 2.
That was sick, and indeed, that Mega right there was a pivotal fight. Maxter was not going to commit because he had the injection. He knows, even if you take it, I inject, and I'm at the same amount of health as you are, plus a bit of armor of an advantage as well. So he just played that very passively. My goodness, Maxter, what has happened to this man?
I mean, I don't know if the Twitch crowd heard the scream of desperation from Wenger when Maxter hit that 1 HP rail, but that was a sign of frustration that Wenger knew that was the most pivotal moment in the map. He'd made a full committal for the first time in God knows how long to try and extend his lead, and it didn't work. He knew he was in a bad position, and Maxter didn't let it slip. But what I was really impressed with, just as we saw yesterday from Maxter, is just that discipline. He was just on the back foot the entire game. How frustrating must it be to know exactly where your opponent is and not be able to pressure them, to not take that risk? He bided his time until the perfect moment before pushing, and it was clinical. Now, there's obviously things you look back on and say, if this happened and this happened, it would have gone a different way. But from both players' perspective, they played as good of a game as they could have. It was just that one rail knocking Wenger down. That was the point of separation. But look at those stats.
Oh, 1200 versus 400 on the railgun, Dan.
Yikes. Oh.
That's not what you want to be looking at when you're Wenger. Once again, 21% on the rail.
I mean, he wasn't really in ever positions to use it after the first 3 or 4 minutes. He was just, standing behind a wall with a rocket out, ready to pounce. But that's always going to sting.
Yes.
And it's I don't know how you fix that going into map 3, because you have to do something. You have to change it up. He tried a strategy here where I'm just not going to take these rail fights. And once again, any rail fight he did take, it was a 2-to-1. Maxter hitting 2, Wenger maybe hitting 1.
And that was despite Wenger often having the better position, right? Up on Mega, peeking, just barely showing his head over the edge, and still Maxter somehow connecting 1, 2, 3 shots in a row, burning away that Mega. I liked Wenger's plan, though. Like just a passive play, setting up around the center. And that was really just a perfect example of counter-punching, I feel like. You just wait for Maxter to extend, you double jump back, fire a few rockets through the choke points, and that is how you take down his stack, and then suddenly you get an opportunity, right? You hit 2 good rockets, you make a push on Mega, and once again he was in the lead. But overall, that 1 point, as you mentioned, that rail that knocked him down, that was critical. It was always downhill from there.
Yeah, unfortunate for Wenger, and as you rightly put it, he had the strategy to counter an Anarchy, and when you have the lead, it's a hard position for the Anarchy to break that stronghold. But break it he did, even if it wears slightly moments of fortune. Now, I've seen this story before. A Maestro player in the semifinals going down 0-2 in maps, bringing it back.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that was the last series, and Razor did eventually fall, but do you feel now Wenger going to Insomnia is in the right mental state? Because I think it's a very different situation. I feel that Wenger's been struggling, whereas Razor was still playing pretty well. How do you think Wenger is going to come back into this one?
It's going to be difficult, that's to say the least. But the pace of this one is going to be entirely different as well, right? Because map 1 and 2 were so movement-focused, right? Strog, Anarchy, Doom, and now we're heading into Insomnia, and it's BJ versus Death Knight. So 2 champions that have nothing going for them in terms of mobility, no maneuvers whatsoever, just raw damage. But even when looking at the raw damage side of things, Dan, things have been looking up for Maxter.
Yeah. That's the challenge. And the other challenge I have here is that when you're going up against the Death Knight, which Wenger is in this situation, you want to be playing more with the rail because you don't want to engage the Death Knight. And so when Wenger's going up against that Death Knight, if you're trying to take these close range encounters, you're going into a Flame Strike. And that's exactly why Maxter has picked the Death Knight. He's saying, if you want to fight me, come at me. I've got fire to throw in your face. And so Wenger has to open it up, make sure his opponent is vulnerable with the rail before engaging. And the rail hasn't been working.
It has not. So let's see if he can turn it around on this map. It's a critical one. Maxter actually has the opportunity to get top 4 to knock Wenger down in the lower brackets with a 3-0 win. Now here we are, rockets being exchanged. We all know how good those Wenger rockets are, but that rail, oh no!
Not again, not again.
This is the worst way to start things off for Wenger, faltering once more with the rail.
Maxter is out-Wengering Wenger at this point. And it's looking wonderful. Wenger getting a better exchange right there, but with the Mega up, it's not the end of the world. The Flame Strike comes out again. That's a huge Flame Strike into a rail, and now look at Wenger escaping with his tail between his legs, and this is the fear. You go into any one of these corridors up against the Flame Strike, yeah, that's where it gets dicey. You might take no damage, you might take maximum damage. Often you can't take that risk. And Maxter's just playing the angles once again. Chipping away as his opponent, and Wenger's just so low. Needs to find a foothold, find some angles and work out Maxter, but Maxter at the moment has Wenger's number.
Maxter also has 0 railgun shots left. He's gonna loop around the map, pick those up. Doesn't look like Wenger will be there to stop him though, so he should be able to recover the ammunition for his favorite weapon. Setting up a little bit of a trap, but Wenger, he knows something's fishy. He figures that something is up. He's not just carelessly going to jump up on that bounce pad that would have spelled this doom, no doubt. Instead, just going to stick to his side of the map where he knows where the opponent is going to have to come from.
And once again, we're seeing the story repeat itself. Maxter constantly getting the edge on these peak rails, whereas Wenger is struggling to play that similar style. And we know Wenger wants to play a fast tempo game and get into the opponent's face, but he looks stricken with fear going up against Maxter. Partly because he's never at a full health, he's never at his full stack, he's always being bullied with that rail.
Here we go.
He gets the initial shot, but once again the exchange 2-1. I've seen this story before. And a 3-1! Maxter is just in the zone today.
Maxter has done significantly more damage with the railgun alone than Wenger with every single weapon combined. 700 damage with rail for Maxter versus 500 with everything else for Wenger.
And this is a situation I don't think I've ever seen Wenger in before. He's gone flying in, he actually gets the frag, running through the flames. Balls of steel from that man, only just. But as I was about to say, I don't think I've ever seen Wenger in this situation before, living on the ropes, unable to cope with his opponent's aim. This is a situation now where we're going to have to see that level of maturity to understand, how do I counter this? How do I keep calm? That was a sign of what he wants to do, is just go in, close the gap. Don't even let him rail. But there's only so many times you can do that without your opponent adjusting to that playstyle.
Closing the gap also carries a significant risk because of that flame strike. We've seen, Dan, what it is capable of, right? Just, I think, minute 2, Wenger got his number, Maxter is low, pushes in, flame strike into rail, and all of a sudden the tables have turned, and it is Wenger running for his life.
I want you in chat just now just to keep an eye on Maxter's portrait, his outline. You can see the angles that he's holding, and Wenger knows he's holding them, and this is the frustration. Wenger knows what's going to happen.
Yep.
The question is, can he actually hit his shot as well? Going out, peeking out, you have to almost bank on the fact Max is going to hit you. The question is, can you hit him back? And that's the game of cat and mouse we see. It's peaking angles, trying to get that first rail, trying to bait the rail out and then push in. And back, you can see again, he knows what's going on. How do you counter this? And that's in spectator. I just want you to concentrate on that. You can see how slow it is. And the awareness from both sides is just incredibly difficult for Wenger, particularly on this map, to get across.
And you know that this is eating at Wenger.
Yeah.
Right? This is just frustrating. This is annoying. He knows how good he is. He knows that if he can force a fight that is favorable for him, it will go his way. But how do you get to that point? Maxter always holding the angle with the rail. And then even if Wenger does manage to jump in, right? Dual wield LG. Oh,
that
this could be it though.
Such a good play, but he's actually run out of ammo. It looks like, yes, he has. He run out, but no, the door. Finally connecting with a rail when it matters the most. That was such a big brain play. He went back twice, doubling back, made it look like he was going for that mega. Doubles back to the heavy. Maxter didn't expect it, and now Wenger is the one with the momentum. Connecting with 2 in a row. Impressive comes out, and Maxter is stuck in his little banana side. Wenger does eventually jump down, saying, all right, I'm not going to catch you in this game of Tom and Jerry. I'll just retreat over to this heavy side of the map. Max is there, and Wenger knows the flame strike comes out in desperation, and it's not to be. And what feels like, I think, the first time all series, Wenger is taking the lead.
Wenger coming to life is what I think this is. Finally starting to find his groove, landing the shots. He's been struggling. Maxter have been outplaying him. Strategy has been solid on the side of the Argentinian player. But now Wenger, he's found a crack, and he is starting to pounce on that.
And that crack came from him outsmarting his opponent.
Yep.
The double back is what called him out. A bit of a poker move there, if you will. Maxter now is still in a decent enough position. Plenty of time on this map. And Maxter knows he's been winning out on these rail exchanges. They also still are trading items. So the item game isn't a concern for either one of these players. It's about that initiation damage. Particularly now, who's going to hit that first rocket? This time it is Wenger. He's going to try and follow in. Opponent goes up the jump pad. Unexpected from both sides, I think. And a huge rail miss from Wenger's perspective. Yeah. That is a frustration when your opponent is trying to escape. Don't underestimate how important those rails are, as Maxter now is still incredibly healthy. Big exchange over here. Flame Strike comes out, Dual Wield comes out. Wenger, though, he takes that fight. And again, if he had hit that rail flea, he might have won that engagement.
I'm not sure if it's picking up on the stream, but you can audibly hear Wenger groaning in the back of the studio when he misses those shots, when he goes down in these fights. Wenger, he's got to keep strong mentally, because that's what matters right now.
Pushing and aggressive, trying to close that gap. This is what he wanted to do all series long, but Maxter once again hitting the S key, ending up in this light armor room, trying to chip away with that railer once again, and just picks up his faithful mega, skirts himself away, and you can just see how frustrating it is to chase down Maxter. He knows where his opponent's coming from, sends out the flame strike, sets up for a rail once again, and his opponent must be feeling worthless in those situations. Wenger is connecting with slightly more rail this duel, but hasn't been able to use it an awful lot. It's been a very slow-paced one. This time Wenger hitting the first of the 2. So Maxter's slightly weak, but it's a difficult position to penetrate. You can see Wenger trying to goad him out once again, and the rail ready for Maxter this time, equalizing the stacks. And they both take their own major items. 3-3, minute and a half to go, more or less. And it's Wenger's upper bracket life on the line, trying to prevent this 3-0 unexpected result. He's still got plenty in his locker.
Unexpected to say the least. This would be quite the upset. That being said, though, Dan, the last 2 times they've played, Maxter won both of these engagements and actually beat Wenger consistently within the Quake Pro League and on the Iron Fist LAN as well. So is it that unexpected given how well Maxter has been playing? Good rail, will slap on the buttocks, sending him out the door. Mega will be going to Wenger though. And heavy up in 15 seconds.
Maxter taking a bit of a risk there, dropping down out of position now. Wenger controlling the high ground. He's got the flame strike up. There's no dual wield. That was actually popped when he saw his opponent drop on down. Big fight for this heavy armor. It looks like Maxter's just going to forfeit it. He's going to move on in, maybe hit a rail, but no. He's actually willing to maintain position over pressure for the item. Flame Strike, once again, it does connect this time. Venger's ticking away. Big rockets from Maxter as well. Wenger gets out for now. He's looking healthy himself. Just can't find a way to damage his opponent. Maxter's more than happy just managing the mid ground. He's not taking any damage for a good minute or two. And there's a trap here. He knows, though. Look at that double jump. He knows where Wenger is. Doesn't want to push on in. Just takes a little bit of damage and says, hey, see you later. I'll hit you on a rail on the way out. But he eats one himself. And now is in that railable territory for now before picking up that light armor. And still managing the timing. Pushes in with the lightning gun. You hear that dual wield come out as well. So he won't be peeking because you can just disappear. Exchanging of rails. But Wenger's certainly the one that gets the better here until then. And there we go!
Maxter! Absolutely phenomenal on the back foot, even landing rail after rail after rail. And Wenger just drops down dead. That was absolutely incredible.
I just don't know what to say, TJ. For one of the series, I am genuinely speechless.
Today, up is down, left is right, red is blue. I don't even know what planet I'm on. And, you know, just like remarkable across the board. Just such great decision making on top of what seems like, you know, IRL aimbot.exe. It is just unreal.
I mean, speaking to Maxter yesterday about his matchup with Rafa, I was asking him, like, were you surprised and all this? And he's like, well, no, I'm not. I'm a good player, but no, I understand what my opponent's doing, and I use it against them. And that's what it felt like here.
Right.
He was just taking these angles, taking these positions, and from the chain interview, I think I saw that coming to life.
I was just thinking about that too.
You could see it getting into Wenger's brain like some sort of aimbot virus where he's like, I don't want to move here. I know I need to be here, but I just can't. And he was so nervous approaching any choke point, approaching any angle, that he was almost pre-shooting himself, which caused him to miss.
And it really is kind of interesting from that point because there's those moments where you're like, I've got to take shots, but I also am putting myself in a position to be shot.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you how do you like mentally sort of navigate that when it feels like every opportunity that suddenly you're visible to your opponent, you just feel like you're taking damage. I also think in that last map, like, Flame Strike's just such an interesting ability because there's some times where it seems like, that's not really doing that much to me. I grab a health bubble, great. And then there's other situations where like, how did I go from full stack to dead? I don't understand.
And it's more the threat of the Flame Strike.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like, and this is why it makes it actually really scary in the hands of Maxter because he doesn't use it. He's just standing back there, railing you, and you're okay. If you want to rail, I'll rush you. And Maxter's like, okay, rush me. I have a Flame Strike. And he's like, what do you do in that situation?
Maxter just really holding onto the ability, cutting down the corners, and then he's like, yeah, come on.
Exactly.
Come on, bro. Come at me. I've got a Flame Strike.
It's
You've got the dual wield. I can hear you coming from a mile away, and I'm just going to preemptively cut down that corridor, switch to rockets, and you're done.
Well, you know what hobbits love? Second breakfast. Let's have it right now. Maxter, come on up to the desk. Let's have a chat. Unbelievable game series. Good game. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Almost a cliche question, but I have to ask, like, how do you feel right now?
Wasted.
Took a lot out of you?
Oh, man, I need to focus. Like, I gave my best. I mean, Wenger is so good when he wants him. Like, every time he's pushing, you got to know that he will hit everything. Like, I was like concerned about the LG fights because I knew that he has better LG than me. I mean, I understand that. I came to the match actually knowing that I need to avoid most of the LG fights. And I knew that I was really confident about my rail. And I need them to actually fight with me on rails because I knew that I was going to get the advantage.
Yeah.
I just want to actually ask something a bit more general. What kind of advice do you have then for people like playing up there who have amazing aim and maybe struggle, like serious ally? What's the kind of your advice of how you approach these engagements? Because the way in which you position and take these angles but still control, like what is your thought process in those type of situations?
Well, something that I learned from the guy right there is that you need to make pressure on the opponents that really have really good aim. I mean, you need to just take weapons from them, cut angles and make pressure all the time, and that's what I do. That's what I like to do. The difference is that I know that I have a good aim, so I will abuse that.
So to counter that, I'm going to ask a very specific question, right? Map 2, Awoken, right? Wenger has a 1 or 2 point lead. He's really just chilling on that center area of the map. Doomslayer with the rockets. Every time you come around the corner, he double jumps away, cuts you off. How do you approach that when you're playing Anarchy? What is your strategy to kind of dismantle that and get back into it?
Look, there was a situation, I remember it was around 5 or 6 minutes. He was on the lead by 2 frags, if I recall correctly. I just took a deep breath because I knew that the game was going to be stuck if I didn't push, because he had the middle area control.
Yeah.
So what I did was I started to just push him a bit more, trying to just get cheap damage in order to just be able to push by myself, because I knew that if I need to use injection, he will not use the ability, so I had the hourglasses around the map. So what I need to do is just to take every time I could, cheap damage, tribal, rail, hay machine gun, spamming LG, spamming rockets, whatever I needed, knowing that he had the full control. I mean, I just needed to do the rotation, like, okay, you had the item, but I did a ton of damage, so that will allow me to fight the next item.
Right.
So that was the idea in that time.
All right, well, congratulations.
Yeah, looking forward now, the possibility of sitting in the upper bracket finals, but you got to get through that upper final first. Your opponent's going to be Kilson. What is kind of your mindset going into that? How are you thinking about that? I mean, it looks like you're just kind of approaching every game as is, but you've clearly shown you could take down the best of the best. How are you looking at Kilson in this situation?
Well, first of all, it's against probably the best player in the tournament right now. He's really solid. I mean, not for nothing, he is the top 1 at this point. Well, I already know that he will try to control the middle area. He tries to play like a really slow pace, and I mean that's kind of the opposite of the game that I like to play.
Right.
So I know that I will need to be patient. Like I will try to just abuse any kind of advantage that I have. I know that I am the one that needs to be playing with rail, and, and that will be it. Like I know that he plays really slow, and I need to any advantage or any error that he makes, any mistakes, I will abuse that.
Excellent. Maxter, congratulations. I am sure that chat popped off like it had never popped off before. Excellent work. Our second semifinal is now in the bag. We're moving on. Soon, one player will advance, one player will go home. Our next matchup in the lower bracket is going to be Razy versus Rafa. Don't go away. More Quake World Championships coming up right after this break.